I'd like to call to order the February 27th, 2020 board meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. and ask Clerk Simsky for roll call.
Mayor Gunther?
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington?
Here.
Trustee Barker?
Here.
Trustee Berry's absent. Trustee Guzzo?
Here.
Trustee Little?
Here.
Trustee Nero's absent. Attorney Zemanek?
Here.
Village Manager May?
Here.
Finance Director Parker?
Here. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. And at this point, open forum. Anybody's here who wants to talk about something not on the agenda? Seeing no one, I will close open forum and move on to reports. My report is first, and I want to give an update on this Sister City update. Our ambassador, Angela Yang, she's in Taiwan right now, and she delivered 1,400 medical face masks donated by the Village of Westmont to Hsinchu County in an effort to assist with the coronavirus. Also, Angela met with Weizan Wang, the former TICO Cultural Center director, and presented him with the Mayor's Appreciation Award. And Weizan did a lot of work with us to create the Sister City and bringing cultural events to town. Update, dementia friendly. Westmont is on the way to becoming the first community in DuPage County to earn this title. We have had several training sessions to help better serve those in our community with dementia. And they're trying to go county-wide, but we started early, and I'm proud to say that we're going to become a dementia-friendly community. Update on holidays. I'm supposed to invite Larry McIntyre up to talk about survey results and updates.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. We had our first Holidays Committee meeting just the other day, and I know Holidays is a way off. Seems like it just got completed, but we put out a survey shortly after the beginning of the year, and I had a pretty good response, and wanted to share with you some of those results. One of the items was we were asking about the time frame in which we hold holidays, and we've had it on the Saturday after Thanksgiving probably for about 6 years now, and prior to that it was always on a Friday. But it's been on a Saturday for a few years. But we often get feedback about what about moving that into December. So we went ahead and asked that question. About 65% of the people who responded had suggested that they're open-minded. They're either in favor or open-minded to moving it to December. But based upon our committee meeting, we basically decided that we would hold off on making a decision on that for at least one more year, and continue to poll people and get their feedback if December's better than the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that was one of the items. Just wanted to share that in addition to some additional items. 75% of the people who responded were in favor of kind of moving the focus of holidays from Veterans Memorial Park to the downtown, and with that, talking about getting the business community more involved. And so there's growing conversations with the chamber, getting them more involved, and figuring out how the business community can get more involved with holidays in general, and even the suggestion of possibly considering something that's more similar to our Wicked West Fest, in which we utilize the downtown and possibly even close off streets and talk about things like that. But the one thing that was unanimous was people really love the parade and don't want to change that pretty much at all. So just wanted to share some of those updates.
And while you're up there, can you update us on our 100th anniversary committee update?
Absolutely. So we're kind of into our final year countdown to our 100th anniversary. And so we're planning a bunch of events for 2021. Basically, taking a look at all of our current events and seeing how we can expand those. There's suggestion to add fireworks to a lot of our existing events. And so that's something that's being considered and discussed, and will be part of budget considerations, I believe, this upcoming year. Wanted to also give you a little bit of an update about our historical booklet. That's moving along, and that's going to go to the printer in June or July of this year, and the hope and expectation is that that'll be ready either by the end of this year or very early 2021. So that's on its way to being completed. Also, there's discussion about creating what we're currently just referring to as legacy awards, and that is recognizing either individuals or families who have a long time history here in Westmont and have contributed a lot to the community. And the thought is to honor those folks sometime next year, possibly even during the community awards banquet. And then also an update on the historical mural. Originally, we were thinking that the final mural that was being painted by Fannie Moy would be completed this year. Instead, we've kind of changed it a little bit, where we're going to ask the community to get more involved with presenting to us their ideas about the future of Westmont. And then that will be what's presented this year on the anniversary date, and then a year from then is when Fannie will complete and present the final portion of that mural. Also, we've asked our village departments, community organizations, and agencies to each create a history for themselves with the idea of trying to get comprehensive histories from all of our community. And so that'll be hopefully completed by November 10th of this year. And that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My last item is to thank Jenny she had surgery for the second time on her hand, and she's here tonight, so congratulations. Did it work this time? I hope.
Well, it looked good, so
All right.
let's hope it stays that way.
I'm going to call Clerk Simsky to give her a report.
Well, my first comment is happy birthday, Mayor,
Thank you.
and a happy belated birthday to your lovely wife. Her birthday was yesterday.
Yesterday.
So, I have to report on the Citizen of the Year. We encourage everyone to nominate individuals who dedicate themselves to giving back. Nominate someone through March 6th on the Chamber website. Early voting will begin March 2nd and run through March 14th at the temporary voting locations. The closest temporary location is Downers Grove Village Hall. Early voting ends March 16th at the permanent voting locations. For more information, please visit www.dupagecounty.org/election. To verify your voter registration, request ballots by mail, view sample ballots, and to locate your polling place. Yard waste and brush pickup resumes April 6th. See the village website for details on that. And the free leaf pickup, there will be a whole week of free leaf pickup, April 13th through the 17th. Leaves only, no grass clippings. Good. So a lot is coming forth now.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to call upon Trustee Guzzo, Johanna Guzzo, to not only give her report, but to give Trustee Barry's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's go to Trustee Barry's report first. The next Economic Development Committee meeting is March 4th, 9 a.m. here at Village Hall. Everyone is invited to attend. Then the Westmont 2020 Reader's Choice Voting is continuing. It's the 4th annual Westmont Reader's Choice 2020 opportunity to vote for your favorite Westmont dining experiences. Voting began February 12th and runs through March 4th. Vote at westmontchamber.com. Now, moving on. This evening, I had the pleasure, and the board had the pleasure, of having a very extensive Public Safety Committee meeting. First thing I do want to say is our next Public Safety Committee meeting is going to be May 21st here at 4:30. Everyone is invited to attend. We had numerous items on our agenda. I'm going to give a brief overview, and then I am going to invite both chiefs up because we had some service awards, we had some life savings awards that I feel that they need to come on up and talk about. We had the 2019 year-end report from the fire department.
We also had the 2019 summary of accomplishments for the police department. I am assuming both of those are going to be on the website so people can take a look at them. Filled with lots of information. Please check it out. All of our village departments do a great job, and I think it's important that they be recognized for that, and it should be on the website. We talked about an RFP for our EMS contract. We talked about the festival security. We talked about the accreditation update for the police department. I am going to invite up both chiefs to talk about the great life-saving awards, and we talked about at our public safety committee meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Guzzo. Well, we gave 4 20-year service awards this evening to Sergeant Anthony Rinaldi, Detective Chuck Schneider, Officer Dave Newton, and Officer Tasso Malamas. We also gave a life-saving award to Officer Dave Hamlin, which is his second life-saving award in his career, for performing CPR to a gentleman that was in attendance tonight at the public safety meeting. It gave an absolutely awesome speech, and was very, very appreciative of both the police and fire response to that incident. We also announced the Public Servant of the Year nominee for the police department, which is Officer Hugo Pacheco. He's a 3-year officer and just doing a fantastic job, and was selected by our awards committee for that honor to be put forth to the Chamber of Commerce. So those were our awards from the police side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We presented a 20-year award to firefighter Mark Skoronsky, who was not in attendance tonight, a 30-year service award to Lieutenant Jim Halleck, who was promoted to captain, and the mayor and Trustee Guzzo presented a 28-year retirement to Captain Leif Johnson, who retired last month after 28 years of dedicated service to the village of Westmont and its residents. Again, it was a great evening for the fire department. 5 promotions, Lieutenant James Halleck to position of captain, Captain Kevin Sievert, Captain Joe Kilchinski, and Captain Arnold Nolan to the position of battalion chief. And last but not least, Battalion Chief James Fitzgerald to the position of Deputy Chief. So again, a great attendance had by all tonight. It's always great when the police and fire department can come before you as the village board to present these awards. The life-saving awards, 14 firefighters, their names are up on the screen, were given life-saving awards. These were for 3 life-saving measures in July, September, and December. The patient was completely unresponsive, not breathing, CPR initiated, and all 3 of these patients were brought back to life and are still living today. As Chief Gunther said, one of those were in attendance, had a massive heart attack on December 19th and was home for Christmas with his family. So, that makes me proud as a new chief to come before you, but it's dedication between our agencies and your support from the village board that we get to do this.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you. Continuing on, the Citizens Fire Academy, sign up is open for the 2020 Citizens Fire Academy. The academy is free and runs for 5 weeks, March 25th to April 22nd. Information is on the village website, westmont.illinois.gov. The 2019 Fire Department Annual Report, as I touched on earlier, both reports will be on the website. And once again, I want to thank everyone for the life-saving awards, for the retirement, for all of the service awards. All of our village departments always go above and beyond for the residents of Westmont, and I just want to say thank you very much. And before I end my report, March 8th, we turn our clocks back. Do not forget to change those smoke detector batteries. Remember, we're going to spring forward. Actually, we're springing forward, so don't forget those smoke detector batteries. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Trustee Addington.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing is that my committee, which is Community Development, will have its next meeting on April 23rd here before the board meeting that night. The other thing I have is DuPage Mayors and Managers Legislative Committee met on Tuesday morning. My report was sent to all of you. I'll just highlight a couple of things. Some of you may have had the opportunity to read the governor's budget address. I think the most significant thing that's in there is the fact that he's tying it to the passing of his graduated income tax. And until he knows what's going to happen in November with that, he is doing I think it's a $1.4 billion holdback of the money that's budgeted that's going to be kind of escrowed until he knows whether that's passed or not. The significant thing with that is that the money that's being held back is earmarked for things like education and public services, and there's already a 5% cutback even in the new budget for LGDF, although the governor is saying that if the graduated income tax does not pass, he's taking another 5%. So I kind of looked at that as a veiled request to municipalities to get behind the graduate income tax. You're going to lose some money. 5% for Rusty was what, about 300 grand?
You know, that would be a much better question for Mr. Parker.
Ah.
He can do that stuff in his head.
That sounds like a pretty close
I
estimate.
think it's pretty close, yeah. But anyhow, I kind of don't like the threat, but, I mean, that's where it's at. There was some discussion about whether or not we need to have a federal lobbyist. We're going to do more work on that. There was a survey passed out, this is interesting, about the effect that red light cameras have in communities. Where there are red light cameras in intersections that actually have some danger, they are seeing accidents well down and income up. And in most cases, I think similar to when we had one here, they're only sending tickets out to about 40–50% of those that are recommended by the red light company. But even with that, the reason for the survey had to do with the fact that the Illinois controller has now decided that office is no longer going to be the collection agency for these kinds of tickets, which means you have to go to a private collection agency if you have a red light camera. Now, there's 11 communities in DuPage County that don't have any. We're one of them. And I saw in the paper this morning that there was an article that the House passed on a vote of 84-4 to eliminate all red light cameras in non-home rule communities. That only affects about 15% of those communities. Chicago was excluded, and of course, home rule was excluded. Here again is the unlevel playing field that we live under with this home rule, non-home rule situation. And it's something that has to be discussed. Following that discussion, the Village of Oak Brook presented us with a resolution asking that the camera on the Oak Brook Terrace side of 83 and 22nd Street be eliminated. That has never been considered a serious accident area. And for those of you who don't know, Oak Brook Terrace is not a member of DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. When did they drop out? Do you know, Steve?
I don't remember them ever being in, and they are the only
Yeah, they
one
were.
left in DuPage County.
When I was president, Bill Callis was the mayor there, and they were in. But
They
that's,
were-
again, 23 years ago.
Opportunity, they have a new mayor now, right?
Yeah.
Acting.
We like to work on that. The bottom line is that we suggested they take it back and rework it, using as the formula for their resolution that it's an intersection that doesn't need it from the standpoint of accidents or other problems, and that we would support it if they would do that. So I think they're going to do that. The rest of it you could read. There's some stuff about small cells. We reviewed over 180 new bills. A lot of them have to do with, it's an election year, folks. You're going to read a lot about real estate tax cutbacks and caps and everything else. Some of these bills read exactly the same almost, so they're not all going to be heard. I think some will be consolidated. There were several, I think half a dozen or so, or 7 ethics bills that had to do with trying to improve Springfield, and it was the decision of the committee that we should be supporting all of those. Again, I don't know how far those things are going to go, but we voted to recommend to the Board of Directors that all those ethics bills be supported. And that's all I have, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go to this side. Trustee Little, I'm going to ask you, before you give your report, to give Trustee Nero's report.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. If Trustee Nero were here, he would tell you that the next Public Works meeting will be held March 26th at 4:30 in Village Hall. And then also, he would want you to know to take a look in your next water garbage bill that comes in the mail to you. You'll find a special census insert that looks like this. Got it? Okay. And it's talking about the importance of having, responding to the census. And that's all for Mr. Nero. Now, for my own, the next Administration Finance Committee meeting will be held Thursday, March 12th at 4:30. Everyone's invited to attend. And then we also have, want everybody to know that they count. The census will be looking for information on children, newborn babies, grandparents, friends, non-relatives who are living and staying with you as of April the 1st. It matters. We get more money for more people. And then the last item I have is a community event. Westmont Special Events Corporation is promoting the Jig and Swig. And that pub crawl starts Saturday, March 14th. It's 2 to 4 p.m. If you go to the website, westmontevents.com, you can pick your favorite pub to start your crawl. Thank you. That's all I have.
Well, thank you. Trustee Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. While we're at it, we might as well stick with the census. Westmont First meets on March 16th at 6 p.m. in the library. We're doing a lot of work, as you know, with the census. We're continuing to promote that. We now have some banners hung out in the village that are starting to be visible for people driving through town. And I'd also like to ask, poll the board, if you will, the thoughts on, we have the census signs, and we have not thousands of them, but several, and we'd like to know if the board is okay with us, thank you, manager, okay with us putting these on the village right away. I see that look.
I don't have a problem with it, but
When we got the yard signs and they were going to be distributed,
Yeah.
and immediately I'm just speaking from a staff perspective, was that we have our sign ordinances and what we allow in an election season. We're very careful about where they can be placed and where they cannot be placed, and the parkways would be one of them. There was also, when we do special event planning, part of the special event permit that you issue kind of calls out the locations where we'll be, if there were banners or things like that. And it's usually on village property, so the railings at Westmont Center or places like that as well. But we also want to put these at our own public properties, so it's kind of a two-part thought, not so much the public right-of-way, but, if the code enforcement department and the village clerk don't know where the authorized signs are, they tend to get yanked out and pitched. So the question is, as to what extent do we want to, will you allow us to permit it?
Well, I think the real question is that because there's the primary that's coming up here in March and then the general election in November, is the fact that if we're going to put that in the right of way, any of the elected or the election wannabes who want their signs up are going to put them right next to that sign. And if we tell them they can't, they're going to say, well, how can you put yours there?
that's a good point.
So
And I agree with that.
I really think you're putting a lot of pressure on staff if we allow it. Now, I would ask the Park District if we could put things by their property, these kind of signs. Again, no election signs can go there, no election signs can go on any of our property, even in the right-of-way, and I would continue to put them out on that kind of a basis, and maybe even to some of the businesses that that don't really put a lot of election signs up anyway. And I've already seen one of those in one store window downtown. Let's see if we can get more of them in those areas. But I think you're putting a lot of pressure on staff if we put these in right-of-ways by people's homes and things. I would much rather, I've got one, I'm gonna take and put it in my front yard tomorrow, but, you know, it's gonna be back behind what would be, I don't have a sidewalk on my side of the street, but what would be the sidewalk line, so it's where it's supposed to be. And I would do the same thing with any election signs that I put up.
Yeah, thank you.
So our public properties, Village Hall, Westmont Center,
I think, put
police
them,
fire,
and I would ask the park district, we do the same thing with them.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have any
we'll
problem.
leave them with them and
Yeah.
leave it to them as how they want to display it.
Okay.
Yesterday at the chamber board meeting, Ms. Babyar gave a nice presentation about the importance and left signs out there. So it's very exciting to see a downtown business owner.
See if we
I
get
can
more
guess
of
who it
those that
was
way.
too, but.
Yeah, and I just want to say that we're asking and we're pushing this just because, you know, it was brought to our attention, a third of the community wasn't counted 10 years ago. And it's also been brought to our attention that for every person that is counted, that's $1,400 a year to the state, which we get a share of.
Right.
And that's why we're pushing this, and Jenny is doing great work in making sure that all these things are coming together, and the people on the committee at Westmont First, I'm happy to say, are doing their homework. So
Several
we're
of the
optimistic.
We haven't heard from Clerk Simsky about the sign.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have a sign. I have a sign in my yard right now. So I think people can see them just great in yards. Actually, I think you have a bigger problem on the public part, you know, because of the trees.
Yeah.
They get lost in there.
Yeah.
So, and in a yard, they can see them as they're driving by.
Okay, no, and we do, we'll throw it out, we appreciate your support, and we appreciate your value, your opinions on all of that.
Mayor, one other issue, and, because I think it's extremely important. Trustee Barker just brought up a very important point, that we believe 10 years ago, a lot of people weren't counted. Motor fuel tax, which is from the federal government, correct, Spencer?
I know we get it directly from the state, but.
State of
I mean,
Illinois, but
Yeah.
it's population-based, yeah.
Yep.
Those kind of things, LGDF and some other things that we get are all based on those population numbers. Now, in addition to that, I think a lot of people know that I have never been a proponent of home rule. But we are living in a state, folks, that has an uneven playing field. And we were so close to 25,000. I think we need to get everybody on the bandwagon and get everybody counted. And that's the only way we can level this playing field and make it work for Westmont. And so we need to keep pushing this. All of us have to be positive and be sure that it's, I like the idea that it's going to be in the water bill. And I think the information is that you can do all this online, correctly?
Yes,
So you don't have to fill out a form, you don't have to.
it's much easier now to be part of it.
You just tell them how many people are living in your house and you're done. And one person can do it, correct, from the household?
In fact, I have one more video for you on the census, and we'll roll that now.
Good.
Just one shot to get counted.
So communities across Illinois get what they need to succeed.
For things like healthcare, childcare,
New road.
Access to housing.
in Illinois, no matter who you are or where you're from,
Asegúrate hacerte contar en el censo del 2020.
Why be counted? Because the government uses the census to decide how much money the state needs.
for every person who doesn't get counted, we lose $1,400 a year coming to our state.
Why be counted? In 1950, Illinois had 24 representatives in Congress. Right now, we have 18.
And we'll lose more in Congress if we aren't all counted in 2020.
Fewer representatives means less support in Washington, D.C.
Everyone needs to be counted.
Everyone.
Children, grandparents, renters,
Folks just getting by.
Me.
and you.
It's just 9 questions, and you can complete it online, by mail or over the phone.
Everyone matters.
Everyone counts.
Visit 2020census.gov and be counted.
Very good.
Okay, thank you on that. And then lastly, the Environmental Improvement Committee will meet on Monday, March 2nd. And those folks are working, planning a very busy spring and summer. We are going to roll out food scraps program on April 1st. And that there'll be more materials available to help people understand that and take advantage of it. And then also, we are working on a special collection of items that are difficult for people to just throw away. There'll be a metal collection and scrap lumber and things like that, and there'll be more details of that. That date is actually April 25th, a Saturday, with a rain date the following weekend. And that is all I have, Mayor.
And I have to compliment you on both Westmont First and environmental improvement. You're doing a lot of good things for the community.
Thank you.
Moving on, the consent agenda. Does any board member see anything they'd like removed? Seeing none, I'd ask Manager May to please read.
First item this evening on the consent agenda are village board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the village board meeting held February 13, 2020. It's followed by finance ordinance number 19 in the amount of $1,161,574.02. We have two purchase orders. First purchase order is to the Illinois EPA, $25,984.86. Represents the repayment on the, it's the ARRA loan that we took out back in, it was either 2008 or 2009, but for improvements done then. It was a zero-interest loan, so there was no reason not to take advantage of it, and this is our annual repayment. That is why it's marked budgeted other. Second purchase order is Don Morris Architect, $33,094.08. This is for services for building reviews and inspections for the month of January. And those fees, of course, are then in turn recaptured with permit fees. The total of those two purchase orders is $59,078.94. The total of the purchase orders with finance ordinance number 19 is $1,220,652.96. Last item on the consent agenda is affirmation of an appointment, or to consider a motion to accept the mayor's recommendation of the appointment of Hank Anzalone as member of the Westmont First Committee. The mayor's prerogative to make the appointment, but with the board's consent. That concludes the consent agenda.
And I do have to say that was from the committee chair. Trustee Barker brought that to my attention. Couldn't ask for a better person.
Oh, yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve as read?
Motion to approve, Jim Addington.
Second, Little?
Motion made and second on the question. Any? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, A, plat of consolidation, 214 West Chicago Avenue. Board to consider ordinance to approve a preliminary and final plat of consolidation for the property at 214 West Chicago Avenue in Westmont, Illinois. Director Sylvester.
So this simply takes a piece of land that appears to have been split off from the rear of a lot years ago and reattaches it to the lot that is adjacent to it on the south, that is on the north side of Chicago Avenue in the 200 block. Plan Commission reviewed it, engineers have reviewed it, everyone has recommended approval.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second, Little?
Motion been made and second to approve. Any comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business B, award of bid proposals, 2020 North Washington Water Main Improvements. Board to consider ordinance accepting the bid proposal from LUC Group LLC for the village's 2020 North Washington Water Main Improvements and authorizing a contract consistent with the bid documents. And I guess I'm going to turn to Manager May.
Yes, Mr. Ramsey's not well today. This is his item, but the village did solicit bids for the Washington water main improvements. 9 contractors submitted their bids. The low bidder was LUC Group LLC. The low bid of $429,100, which is approximately 39% below the engineer's estimate of $699,570. They weren't standing alone as being, that far under the engineer's estimate. There's some welcomed phenomenon going on now where that work has, been reduced. So the engineer's estimate was in the middle of the bids, but they were, in good company with that low bid too.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So move Guzzo.
Second, Barker.
Motion made and second to approve. I have a question that, how many bid on the,
9 contractors.
and a couple of them were pretty close to this wasn't like considerably lower than everybody else?
There were more than half of them were below the engineer's estimate. This one did stand out a little bit further. There is it's a unit price bid, so there are many individual bids that add up to our estimated quantities, and that's how you get to the total, but you actually award the bid based on unit prices. So that was all double checked, and contact with the contractor about, are you aware? And they are, and then is their intention, and they're just, really looking for work. So, and they have good references. The resident engineer contacted, other communities where they've worked, and it's all positive.
Any other comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business C, tax remittance software and services. Board to consider an ordinance approving an agreement with Azavar to provide software and services related to the collection of locally imposed taxes. Director Parker.
So this is something that we've talked with the village board about, or rather the administration finance committee about around budget time last year. And as we talked about at that point, Azavar is somebody we've used for utility audits in the past. They've done a good job in terms of finding that. They've now broadened their services to also provide a service for remittances to allow businesses to be able to pay online for their taxes. So we've had some requests from our local businesses to be able to pay their places for eating tax online, so they don't have to deal with a check or deal with coming into the village. This is a way to allow that to happen. It's also a way that we can automate some of the processes we go through right now. So right now, when people start falling behind, we have a staff member who calls them or sends out emails or writes letters as they get further behind. And we'll be able to automate a little bit of that in the system. One thing we'd probably do with this system at the same time is try to reach out to all the businesses and get updated contact information. If we can get emails, they can get into the system. We also do have a method for people that choose to not pay online. They are able to still pay to the village directly with either by coming in or by sending a check. And there were a couple of concerns that the village board had, or the committee of the village board had, when we talked about it last. One of those was making sure that if we didn't like the services that were provided, we were able to get out of the contract if we needed to. We have that ability with providing some minimal notice, so we've got that covered. And then there was just a concern so one of the other services that's offered is customer service, so we can do some automated emails, but we could also have other people start calling our businesses. There was some concern about maybe not wanting to have an independent party calling our businesses. We probably want to keep the calls in staff, and we've talked with them, and they're fine with that as well. I think all the concerns that were addressed previously have been addressed in this contract currently.
Do I have a motion to approve the contract?
Motion to approve, Little.
Second, Barker.
Motion made, second. Any comments? Questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business D, 2020 zoning map. Board to consider an ordinance to approve the updated zoning and address maps for the Village of Westmont dated December 31st, 2019 as the official 2020 map. Director Sylvester.
So once a year, the village updates our official zoning map, and we do it in the beginning of the year. And we update the map to reflect any and all zoning map amendments, rezonings that were made the previous year. So this is an annual activity. The one rezoning that was done last year was on Park Street, just south of Ogden, and that was in relation to the proposed, or the approved, medical office building. So the new map will reflect that that zoning change was made during 2019.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second, Little?
Motion been made and second to approve. Does that also contain like the cannabis zones? No, that doesn't go in there.
So the cannabis rules said that in existing zoning districts, someone could have a cannabis business if they got a special use permit.
Got it.
So it's a good question. It didn't change the zoning map, but it said that particular activity would now be allowed in certain areas with a special use.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Motion passes. Miscellaneous. Young ladies, did you want to address the board? No? You're just watching? I want to give you an opportunity if you came in and wanted to. Nope, okay. Anybody else got any?
Real quick question, can we hop back to the census? When do we get those census numbers back?
Oh, that's
Do we know?
Be a full year. I remember them
Okay.
coming in
December.
2021.
Okay. I was just kind of wondering, because, it's been such a push to get counted. It's like, okay, we're going to get everybody counted, and then when are we going to get the numbers brought back to us?
Yeah. We understand, if our memory serves us right, that the report gets turned into the president, the executive branch, the president of the United States in December.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll know by our 100th anniversary.
And that was kind of the reason I was asking, too.
I do have a comment.
Attorney Zemanek.
You had the discussion earlier about whether the village could place signs in the right-of-way. And I understand you may not want to do that for a variety of reasons, but the sign code, which is part of the zoning ordinance, does allow the village to put its own signs up in the right-of-way. So you have things like train crossing or village hall or, directional type signs. You can also put up special event signs. Those have to be approved by the village board. And that's an exemption from the sign code that says no signs can be in the right-of-way.
Oh, good.
So if you're
But it
so
was the
inclined.
example setting was where the conversation was, so.
Yeah,
It's good to know, though.
Trustee Addington, with the election coming up, everybody will have it alongside of it.
Well, we all know, and they'll stick them anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
We're not too bad in Westmont. We get a few.
yeah.
When you get outside Westmont, you go to the community north of us, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Do we just go out and pull them up if we see them?
Well, Clerk Simsky has
I
a
say
trunk
Addington.
full usually.
I usually have a trunk full.
She's the sign person. Not-
She walks, to the village hall
Yeah.
almost every day, so
She comes
sometimes
in.
she's got an armful of stuff with her.
Anyone else on miscellaneous? We do not have an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Addington.
Second, Little?
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
And want to thank everyone. This meeting is adjourned.